Hello, and welcome to Postcards from Palisade, the podcast that's all about the people and places that make this slice of Western Colorado wonderful. I'm your host, Lisa McNamara. Today I'm talking with Jody Corey and Jeff Snook. Jody and Jeff own and operate the Spoke and Vine Motel and Fidel's, a cocina and bar in Central Palisade. Jody and Jeff bought the old Mesa View Motel, remodeled it, and opened as the Spoke and Vine Motel in 2019. I caught up with them on their equivalent of a Friday afternoon after a busy weekend, and we shared some laughs and great conversation. Could you both just say something like as a test?
Test 1, 2, 3.
That was very good, Jeff. I
Testing.
appreciate that.
I was in telecommunications in high school.
Were you?
I was.
Telecommunications.
I have a face for radio.
They shared my favorite kind of construction budget story.
Yeah, our construction budget was a bit of a...
Moving target.
Totally a moving target.
We talked about how they adjusted to motel ownership life.
I thought it was so weird that I was living in a motel.
It was so weird that we were living in a motel there. So everybody...
And a motel that we own, which is also weird.
And about how they very unexpectedly became restaurant owners when the old Palisade Cafe and Wine Bar suddenly went up for sale.
So we kicked it around for a little bit, and then 2 weeks, halfway through May, we're like, you know what, let's do this. We got a lawyer involved, look over the contracts, and here we are, buying a restaurant, 2 weeks notice.
We closed on the Palisade Cafe on June 1st, which was my birthday. It was a great birthday present. Best birthday ever.
Here we go, we bought you another job.
Keep listening to find out what I asked Jeff that surprised him.
You know, and I have to say thank you for asking that question. I mean, a lot of people, we've done a few of these, the podcasts and interviews, and I don't know if anybody's really ever directed the question towards, like, why?
All that and more on today's Postcard from Palisade.
I'm Jody Corey.
I'm Jeff Snook, Jody's husband.
And what do you do? I mean, we could probably spend 2 hours talking about everything that you do.
Yeah.
When you introduce yourself to somebody, what do you say you do?
I think
We usually sigh.
Yeah, we usually take a break. We take a kind of really think about exactly what we do.
What is our purpose here?
Yeah, what's our purpose in life? I think the first thing that I say is, hi, my name's Jeff. I usually don't ever say my last name. I don't know why, but I say, hi, my name's Jeff. My wife and I own and operate a restaurant and a motel in Palisade. And yeah, that's about it.
I usually add that I dabble in real estate and consulting, interior design, whatever you want, we can take care of.
That's right.
So I read the story on your website about Spoke and Vine, the origin story, the myth, the legend. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like, why did you decide to buy a motel?
So I was in Steamboat for 20 years in total, and throughout my time there, I worked for a real estate developer and an interior design business, and then a property management business. And with that background, I started reading about a lot of motels going through a Renaissance period where people were once again interested in them, and most of them were built in the 50s or earlier, and I think they have some inherent interesting qualities as far as the architecture is concerned. So I started reading articles about people renovating these old motels and making them into, refreshing them and making them into something new and attractive and desirable again. And that was just really interesting to me. However, we were in Steamboat and there was a motel for sale up there, and it was just way expensive. And, it was just a story that kind of kept playing on my head, that I really like taking something old and turning it into, breathing some new life into it. So fast forward, I came on a girls' trip, and a girlfriend of mine, she had a bachelorette party here, and she talked about Palisade every time I saw her. She just loves Palisade. So for her birthday, we came down here, four girls, and we stayed at the Mesa View Motel. And we stayed there because there were really no other lodging options in Palisade. Mm-hmm. So we stayed there, and we checked in, and we were a little nervous, to put it lightly. We checked in super late, I think it was 11:15 at night, and the lobby experience was a bit sketchy, and then the room was not much better than that. And so we checked out the next day. And the girls went out for drinks that night. And I was like, you know what? Palisade is darling. You know, we went wine tasting. We took our road bikes through the monument. We had a great time. I'm like, we should buy that place. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Granted, Jody and I, we were married at this time. We are together. We were together. So go ahead.
So anyway.
So she asked the girls about buying a motel before she even talks to me.
But, you know, it was just, this is how the ideas.
This is how Jody goes.
This is how the ideas get created. So anyway. I sent a friend a message who lives in Palisade. I said, you know, what do you know about the Mesa View Motel that night? So she responded. She didn't know much, whatever. And a few months later, it got listed, and her name is Jen Sliney. She used to live here for years. She texted me, and she says, the motel is for sale. And this was, I want to say now, it's probably December. So I was in property management. Jeff was a GM of a restaurant.
No, it was like October, November, because I just started at excuse me, it was in like May, June, because I just started at Salt.
No, anyway. So anyway, we were getting into our tourist season. And Jeff's like, shut up. You know, this is the last thing we need to be worried about. So that spring, we came down in May, and we did it was this race. It's called the Grand Fondo, put on by Jen Sliney. We came down with a bunch of friends and our campers, and we stayed at base camp. And it was a beautiful weekend. We did this beautiful bike ride, went to the distillery. We did all the things, rode around on our bikes and our cruisers. And we had a great weekend. And on the way out of town, I'm like, Jeff, just do me a favor. Let's just drive by. The camper's hooked up. We're ready to get on the highway. He U-turns it, and we drive by the old Mesa View Motel. We drive by. There's like people hanging out. All the doors are open. You know, if anybody lived in Palisade, they know what I'm talking about. It just was not visually appealing. And Jeff was like, "What are you, nuts?" There definitely was a curse word in there somewhere.
I said, what the F do you want to do with this place? Were you nuts?
The trip back to Steamboat is 3 hours, so I had 3 hours to convince Jeff that this was a great idea. By the time we rolled into Steamboat...
And those were my words. I said, you have 3 hours to convince me of this. I was like, that. And once we're home, we're home.
And then by the time we got to Steamboat, we already had a trip booked that following weekend lined up. We were going to go see the place.
Yeah.
Because it was still for sale.
Yeah, we stayed at we stayed at One Country Inn for like 2 nights. We brought our cruiser bikes. We like checked it out. Yeah. It was cool.
We kicked the tires on the town.
Yeah.
And we're like, you know what? This is a town we can see ourselves in. Yeah.
What was your objection to it originally?
Living in Steamboat, like disrupting our life. I just started a job at a restaurant, Salt and Lime, as a GM, and it was like, this is my dream job. Not my dream job, but it was like, this is the job I want. And, and I was still very much invested in it, and I committed to them, and I was like, if we do this, we have to drop everything. I'm going to be the one that has to leave. So I was just like, I don't really want to do that. And then she started selling it. And then she started talking about it. Started building it up. And then we came down here and it was like, okay, let's put an offer in. And, they were asking an exorbitant amount of money for it, which they didn't get. And we just spent that summer kind of doing the due diligence. So I came back and forth from Steamboat to meet with the previous owners and plumbers and electricians and pests and everything you could think of. Mm-hmm. I mean, we kicked the tires hard on it.
And then we still had some surprises.
Yeah. Still do.
Yeah, you totally remodeled it. Right?
Yeah. It was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What was the biggest surprise that you found?
Biggest surprise?
I think I would like to say probably the volume of mold.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
The volume of mold on pipes that went on
interior walls.
I think actually the biggest surprise was we ripped, I don't know, 85% of the whole place out. All the plumbing underneath the building, even the drywall,
all new plumbing,
some new studs. Like we had to reframe a lot of walls, including exterior walls. But the biggest surprise to me as somebody that is interior design and construction, when we went to rip out one of the rooms, it was linoleum, carpet, then carpet.
Oh, no.
And I don't know how much money you're saving by laying carpet over old carpet. That doesn't even make sense to me.
The labor of pulling it out, the new foam backing. It's a lot of money.
We lost a quarter inch on just pulling it up, or gained a quarter inch in ceiling height. So that was probably the biggest shock to me.
Yeah, I think the biggest shock to me was the rot on floors that you would never see unless you tore the place apart. And obviously we were told there were never any leaks, and the amount of mold, the amount of money.
Maybe not expected.
Yeah. Well, the budget just jumped exorbitantly.
Yeah, our construction budget was a bit of a... It was
moving target.
Totally a moving target. And we did a lot of the work ourselves. But what helped was we're a husband and wife team, and the days Jeff was low, I was there being the cheerleader. And the days I was super low, he was the cheerleader. And luckily they didn't happen in... We weren't both in the lows.
Not frequently.
Sometimes. But I think what we kept saying is like our mantra, like, we're just doing this once. Like when it was an option to do it right or half-assed it, we were like, we're just doing it once. We're going to do it right.
Yeah.
So we did take some extra time and spend some more money to make sure that this motel can last another 100 years.
Yeah.
That was important to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you do all the interior design and graphic design?
I did the interior design. The graphic design, we used a great friend of mine who I've been working with for years. She did the website. She had a great branding team, graphic designer.
Tall Poppies, right?
Yep, Tall Poppies. And then Jeff, he GC'd the project. We painted half of the exterior ourselves. Jeff, I don't know.
I don't even remember what I did. I was, I worked we hired a carpenter who built the walls, and I was just basically his assistant. I was the grunt. Mm-hmm. I swept up every day. I brought the brought the wood in. I brought the flooring in. Like, I had everything essentially ready for the contractors to come in, do their thing, and save on them having to babysit it, running around in circles. They need an extra pack of whatever paint, I'm going to get it. You keep painting.
Yeah.
Right.
We built all the furniture ourselves, whether we ordered.
Vanities at my
IKEA.
Late nights at the motel by myself. But granted, I don't know about, a lot of people probably don't know this, but Jody was still living in Steamboat for the first year while the motel was open.
Right.
So I lived here by myself in a camper for the first 2 months in the parking lot of a shady motel. That I
in the winter with terrible heat.
I knew nothing about the town, so I'm like waiting to get murdered, abducted, whatever.
and really, not many people came over. Our first friend for a long time, first and only friend, was Bennett Price.
Yeah,
he's a legend. We can't say enough about him and Davey across the street at Tebek Winery, but they welcomed us like family.
Yeah. Also, Riley Parker was pretty cool. Riley kind of lives kind of catty corner to the west of us across the frontage road, man. And he would he'd see me out there he would always pull up and be like, "Hey, Jeff, he'd introduce himself, and then from that point on, "Hey, Jeff, how's it going? You're looking good, man. You're always working." And, and I was just like, "Thanks." They were cool. They were supportive, because they both essentially live across the street from what used to be the Mesa View, and it was an eyesore, so they saw the potential as well. So it was nice to kind of get the kudos from, the locals.
Right, yeah,
it was
people
cool.
are happy about what you're doing.
Right, yeah, so it was cool.
Yeah. And
we didn't know.
And there was probably some nervousness from some people, like, what's going on? Here we go again. Waiting back and seeing what they see and allow us to do what we do, which was great.
I talked to Cody last week from the Homestead.
Mm-hmm.
And
nice.
One of my questions for her was really, a similar thing. What inspired you to buy a hotel and take this project on? And she said it was really seeing what you guys did and seeing the positive transformation of something that had been really a big part of Palisade and a very visible part, and seeing it turned into something beautiful and productive and useful, and that really inspired her to take on that project herself. Mm-hmm. So I was curious, what does that mean to you that you're now inspiring other people here?
I mean, I think that's the biggest compliment you can get,
Yeah. For sure.
And their property is amazing.
It is.
And they're amazing people. So it was kind of because we went down there for their grand opening. It was really cool to walk in and be like, this is what people probably felt like walking into our property when we were doing it. So kind of to be on the other side of it, to kind of see what somebody else is doing, regardless of us doing it, but just to know what that property was and walk in to see what it is now is like, whoa.
And also
nice
know
work.
their blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
They went through all the emotions just as we did.
Yeah. I've talked to him twice now and commiserated about something very similar now that we're both open, and we're just like, you too, huh? We're like, yeah, okay, cool.
But Cody reached out to me a few months ago and introduced herself, and we had coffee, and I shared as much as I can with her to help her be successful and share the lessons that I've learned, and hopefully it'll help them out. I'm sure they have their own lessons to learn as well. But we have a really good relationship with them, and we're really proud of them. And we've went through it, and there's no reason to hold on to it. You know, we all want the same thing for us, our families, for Palisade, for the community, for our guests. Like, it's an opportunity to show off why we live here in this beautiful place, and we're attracting really cool tourists that are, quote unquote, getting why Palisade is so very special. So yeah, it's been fun to have them in the lodging community here in Palisade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any flashbacks when you went to the open house?
Absolutely.
They were telling their stories of like, oh yeah, mm-hmm, yep, we were there, yep, we built tons of furniture too, you know, whatever it was. A lot of people ask about the motel renovation, and they think it's like this glamorous thing. It wasn't.
No, I had a lot of pictures to prove it.
You know, our lifestyle is not particularly glamorous. We have to have the phone on our nightstand. We have to be ready to drop plans, run in, and pitch in. I think it's important, and we do run a business where we are ever present, for better or for worse. Yeah. We are always there to pitch in when it's busy. We're always there to take out the trash. We are never too proud, and that's the kind of business I grew up in a family business, that the owner has to do all of those things. And if you're not prepared to do all of those things, how can you expect your employees to do it? Mm-hmm. And in a small business, we all have to touch everything. Everybody has to be able to help the other parts of the operation for the ultimate success of everybody. Yeah, it's important.
It really does feel like an extension of your home, because you have the motel bar, and then you have the outdoor patio, and when we hang out there, it's like you invite locals in to hang out, but you also invite your guests in. But it also feels like it's partly like that because you spend so much time there, and it's a homey environment.
Yeah.
Well, we lived there.
It was our home.
The bar was my home. Our home, excuse me. It was my home for the first year.
That was the living room. There was a place we were living in.
The bar was our living room. We literally, like, when we finally had the wood floors done, we could move in. We didn't have any furniture, and we just put the queen bed, like, right in the living room where the ice machine is right now. And, you know, it wasn't open, obviously. You couldn't see it in the lobby. But that weird double door was there. So, you know, you look back at it, and that's, I think, aside from the mold, you asked that question earlier, like, I thought it was so weird that I was living in a motel.
It was so weird that we were living in a motel there. So everybody...
And a motel that we own, which is also weird.
Everybody
because I never thought that was going to happen.
Everybody who knows me knows I'm from New York City. So when we first opened the motel, people would be driving in late night, and I'm out the window like, who's in the driveway? You know, I just have that visceral, you know, reaction like, someone's coming in unannounced. And Jeff's like, we own a motel. And I'm like, oh, right.
They want to pay us money to stay here. For what we just did.
Okay. We got to get with it. Or you're coming with your groceries, and next thing you know, the guests are asking you, you know, for directions. Or
it's July and you have ice cream, and it's literally dripping on the concrete because they want to talk about wineries. And I'm like, okay, I'll do this.
Right, because we generally are.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. So because we lived there, that was our only outdoor space. It's not as if we hung out in the back alley. We had our family barbecues out there. Mm-hmm. So when we'd have people over, or we just wanted to go out and drink coffee in the morning or go have a glass of wine, our guests were out and about. Honestly, that was the best situation as far as market research. Our guests told us so much about what they enjoyed in Palisade, where they came from, what do they expect in vacations. We came away from those years with friends. Our motel guests became friends, and there were many nights that you would see us around town with the guests in number 9.
Yeah. We still hang out. When people come to town, we still hang out. We go out to dinner with them from when they first stayed with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Landon and Sarah. I mean, like, cool people.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And when we built the motel, we were talking about, like, what is the identity? What kind of place do we want to build? It came from building a business that suits our personality, and it's worked out because we've attracted people we generally connect with, and we wanted it to be more than just a place to sleep. We wanted it to feel like a home away from home, that they were part of the Palisade community.
Yeah.
And you're building community around the motel as well.
Right.
With bike nights and things like that. Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about how you started that? And
Started with COVID. Really, I mean, COVID happened, and it was our first year. It was our 1 year anniversary. It was May 1st of 20. COVID hit, and Jody had just moved to Palisade that February, so that was very thankful for that. And the motel was dead. We were scared, obviously, but then we started to meet kind of the community. This is when we really started to like see Palisade people, because nobody else was here.
And we had time.
And we had time. So, people would be cruising around, like talking, hanging out, whatever. And we're like, we're outside. Let's do a cruiser ride. Let's go cruise around town and then come back and have a couple drinks. And it just kind of started happening from there. And then I don't even know how Palisade started. I think it was just kind of like, hey, we should get a food truck.
Mark from...
Oh, that's what it was.
Mark from Pedicab.
Yeah, we finally moved out of the motel, and we had
Yes.
this space. And I was like, Jody, we got to do something in this space. Let's build a bar. She's like, you want to build a bar? I was like, yeah, let's build a bar. So we built a bar. Got a liquor license, did all the jazz, and then it started to really progress. Like, oh, let's go for a cruise ride. Get people to come to the bar and buy some drinks. Kept it reasonable. And then like, oh, let's get a food truck. Mike from Palisade. A few other people, and then it really Palisade just committed, and they're like, Monday nights are yours, and it was like locals night. It just kind of started turning into like something really cool. And it ebb and flows like it does, but ultimately everybody talks about it in the winter and be like, all right, when are we going to start this up again?
I mean, when we moved to town, Steamboat is a very special community, and we had great friends up there, and a lot of the people in Steamboat are transplants, so many of us didn't have family. So your friends become your families.
Yeah.
And so when we moved down here, we felt like we lost our family, and it was difficult for us. And again, we were working a bunch to meet other locals. So we wanted to selfishly create a community for ourselves, and we thought this would be a good way to get people together, and for other sort of people like us are looking to meet some other new friends to come and establish some relationships. So it really has helped. And I know, like, going to the Monday night events, there are so many friends that are sitting together that didn't know each other months ago, and now they're now they're making plans outside of the Monday night.
I think it's still the Facebook page picture of the original group, and we're all like, well, we should probably be wearing a mask. Like I think I have a mask on and a few other people, and we're kind of spread out a little bit. So it's kind of cool that that's where that came from. So that's kind of one of the positives from COVID for us, because COVID was a negative for the motel for the first 3-4 months. It was really tough. And this was one thing that came out of it. It was like, it's still happening 3 years later.
I mean, I can't even tell you how meaningful it was for Paul and me when we moved here. It was kind of the thing that made us say we want to stay here.
Oh, cool.
Because we didn't intentionally move here originally. We just were looking for a place to buy and just needed an apartment. And this was the best one we saw in Palisade. And then we started going on the rides and meeting people. And I was like, wait, we just like stumbled onto this community. This is exactly what I want.
Nice.
We're going to stay here.
Right.
So I think for us, that was like the biggest thing in getting us into this community and just like wanting to be part of it.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that.
We
That's
really
awesome.
appreciate it.
Well, and Jody said it earlier, but I want to reiterate. Mark from Pedicab was, he was right there. Like it was probably more of his idea, and we just had the space. So we offered that space up, and then kind of all talked and came together with it, and it just developed. So it was cool to have Mark around for that, and he's still around today, obviously, but he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
There really are a lot of cool people just rallying the community.
Yeah.
The amount of things, like, at this point, it's really hard to pick what you're going to go to. We have so many fun events and gatherings.
Right, we just had the Bluegrass Bash. That's, it's free music for people. Like
4 days.
Right, 4 days of free
4
music, a
nights.
festival. People pay hundreds of dollars for that. It's free in Palisade.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool.
Very cool.
That was awesome. I guess before we move on to Fidel's, is there anything else about Spoken Mind that, you want to share? Any other stories or?
Spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think Spoken Vine it's just a cool property. It's important to us because it's our baby. It's the first thing that we did together as a couple. She was a business owner. I worked for other people, and I was like working for other people. So this was our first kind of business together, and we developed it together. Her idea, my sweat, both back and forth. I committed something to it.
Wow!
What? True. I still have the scars to prove it. See my lungs. But it's just it's a special property for us. I think it's special. We have a great staff over there right now, and they're pretty much running it, which allowed us to slide into the restaurant industry, which we never thought we were going to do, being that we had worked in it before. We're like, we're not going to ever own a restaurant. Are you nuts? Maybe that's a good transition into Fidel's.
Yeah, that's a great transition. So Fidel's, when I first came here as tourists, it was the Palisade
Cafe and wine bar.
What made you say, what, we're going to take this on?
Again, pausing with the question. That's what we do when people say, what do you do? We want to give the best possible answer we can. Obviously, that reflects our idea. We heard about it, and I don't know. Go ahead, you go. I'm stumbling for words right now.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Here comes my Queens girl.
The real story.
Queens is out.
So we were at the Monday night cruiser ride at Spoken Vine. And it was one of the busier nights, and, the rumor mill gets...
It was the first week of May.
Okay.
First week of May, yeah. So the rumor mill came around, and we heard that John Sabal was looking to sell the Palisade Cafe, and if he didn't sell the Palisade Cafe by the end of the month, it was going to close.
New lease starting June 1.
We had literally just opened up the bar. So we had grand plans, like we're going to have the bar, whatnot. The paint is barely dry at this point on this venture that is the investment in the bar. And we look at each other, we're like, oh no, Palisade, I wonder who would buy it. And in a month,
Less than a month.
We're going into tourist season, and it's sometimes a struggle to find, food on the busier weekends in Palisade. So we were just worried about our guests and selfishly worried about us that we were going to lose another food option. Jeff and I typically like to eat out. So we were very worried and reached out to John to ask if it's true. And often when we hear rumors, Jeff and I are definitely the people, we just go straight to the source. Yeah. So anybody listening, every now and again I've received a phone call for us asking. So,
this is what we heard.
Right, this is what we heard.
Let's just
totally
kibosh it now.
So I called John. He said, yep, it's for sale. I'm like, okay, well, just kind of kicking around the idea just so we know.
Let's meet.
Let's meet. He's like, okay, great. I'll have my list of questions. You bring whatever you have to show me. I think it was like we were going to meet in 2 days.
It was the next Monday night, I think, because I was working the bar, and you guys met in room 10. Yeah, I remember that part now. But you guys met and then came out and was like, oh, somebody else is buying it.
Yeah, so he shows up for his meeting and someone else is buying it.
All right.
We're like, okay, great. And then we started thinking. Then we heard, maybe the other deal. Not sure if that's going to go through. And so a few weeks later, or a week later, I go to Jeff. I'm like, what do you think? Should we do it? Should we try? Don't know. So we kicked it around for a little bit. And then 2 weeks, halfway through May, we're like, you know what? Let's do this. We got a lawyer involved, look over the contracts. And here we are, buying a restaurant. 2 weeks notice. We're closing on June 1.
So we had to work not only with John for the restaurant, but the landlord. So it was a really quick transition.
And a little complicated.
Because the landlord was like, well, hold on, maybe I don't want you in there.
Right.
Maybe I want to find someone else, because now the lease is up, it's pre-game. Right. So we're like, oh crap, one more hiccup. Because we had already worked it out with John, restaurant owner, going through the process. And then we're like, oh wait, right, he might not. So we interviewed like 3 people. We told him what our vision potentially was. And he actually chose us. And, the landlord lives in Palisade. He knows us. He knew what we did with the motel. So, it was kind of a no-brainer for him because he knows who we are. But he still had to go through the due diligence to do it. But, it was... Yeah, so here we go.
So here we are.
So we closed on the Palisade Cafe on June 1st, which was my birthday. It was a great birthday present. Best birthday ever.
Here we go. We bought you another job. So we got...
Bought you another job.
So Jeff
We close. We come in. We do the inventory.
And we were just like,
interview the staff.
It's the same thing. It was, like, what are we doing here right now? So we closed. We had no runway, if you will, to really know the operation, see what's going on. And both of us had pretty extensive restaurant backgrounds.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that hard as far as like the operating, but we inherited their whole staff and they were great. And we just thought, let's keep it open for the summer. Let's see what we see what the staff is telling us, see what our guests are telling us. And
I'm not going to change a menu on a staff.
No.
It's been doing it for however many years.
We didn't have a vision. We didn't have a concept. So we're like, They
were nervous.
Let's just keep running.
They didn't know what was going to go on. So, they were very questioning to us. Like, who are you? What are you doing here? So, of course, we paused and thought about our answer. And then we got to it pretty quick. We knew what was great about the cafe. We also knew what wasn't great about the cafe. So we focused on what we thought wasn't great to kind of build it up for the summer. And I think we did. We had a great team who, you're always going to lose some people, you're always going to gain some people. So we ultimately had a great team that got us through that season. And we decided to close. We finally talked about what our vision was going to be for what is now Fidel's. Didn't have the name at the time. And then closed, and we started ripping the place apart, And that was a little nerve-wracking because we didn't know the building.
Right.
So now we're putting all this money, we're investing all this time and money into a building we don't know.
Yeah. When Jeff and I discussed the concept of what we wanted to see, for us, when we would go out in Steamboat, we actually went to Salt and Lime, the place that Jeff ultimately came to be the GM. But when we travel, we seek out tacos and tequila and mezcal. And that's always been our thing for the last 7-ish years. So we thought, okay, what could Palisade use? And for us,
in our opinion,
in our opinion, we wanted to create a restaurant that was mid-range, but it had table service. And had a really nice bar where you can just come in and grab a drink. So we designed the menu so that it can appeal to locals and tourists alike. For us, consistency is probably the most important thing if you're going to attract locals. We want to make sure the drinks are always made the same, the food is always the same. But
the service is always the same. Consistency with the product and the service.
Yeah.
Personality. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Which is very much what Spoken Vine was about when we opened that. That's what we're about. Yeah.
We don't feel that there's many options for a mom and pop restaurant that is kind of middle of the road that has table service. So that was what we were hoping to set us apart.
And again, since COVID, a lot of restaurants had to shift. And this is absolutely not a dig on anybody for doing what they do. But we want service. We want table service when we go out. I mean, we go to places that has counter service and we enjoy it. It's what it is. We know what we're getting into. But when we go out to eat, we want to have a server. We want to have the conversation with that person. We want to hear the story of the restaurant or whatever their story is. So it was important for us to get that back, especially in Palisade. Not that nobody else is doing that, but that's what we wanted for Palisade. And then I don't really. We were a little nervous opening tacos, tequila, and mezcal. It's different.
It's different.
It's just different.
And the Palisade Cafe, we were the 12th owners.
13th owner. Palisade Cafe 12.0 was John. Then he changed it to the Cafe Wine Bar. We were 13.0.
It was 11.0.
I don't think so. Check the records.
It was Palisade Cafe 11.0. We were the 12th owners of the Palisade Cafe.
No, I'm pretty sure it was 13 because I was like, we cannot be 13 owner.
It's like where they skipped the 13th floor. So
totally. It wasn't the 13th.
Right.
It definitely was 11.0. So we were...
Sure.
So as the 12th owners of the Palisade Cafe, I think every owner put their new little spin on the place. Right. And after a while, the menu was a little all over the place, as was the decor. And the worry was, through that first summer, people would come in and say, are you going to put back that Reuben that the fourth owner had on the menu? And I'd look at them like, I don't even know who that was. So, what we felt like was that we were always going to be compared to the 11 previous owners for better or for worse. And
Right.
for us, we thought, let's just scratch that plan entirely and build something again, unique, fresh, that embodies our personality and our taste. The worry always is, are our tastes in line with what can keep the doors open?
Right.
It's, restaurants
Pay
are...
the bills, keep people employed.
Yeah.
All that.
Restaurants are fickle. You
Right.
might like it, but are you going to go? For us in a tourism economy, Palisade is busy-ish from April until the middle of October. So you make money and you have to squirrel it away and hope over the winter you lose less. Mm-hmm. And we really rely on the locals to keep us afloat year round. So when we decided on a concept, we kept asking ourselves, would they want to come here in January? Mm-hmm. Are the locals excited enough to come in February? So that was...
And they were.
And we've had a
lot of locals.
A lot of the same faces showing up.
From DeBeck, Palisade, all the way out to...
Glade Park.
Mac. Yeah. Like, what? Oh my God, thank you. Yeah. Like, I want to hug these people that are driving all the way in here for this restaurant. Mm-hmm. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. And again, Jody said it earlier, but selfishly, we built Smoke and Vine the way we like to travel. We built Fidel's the way we like to eat. We worked with a consultant for our menu. We worked on the cocktails. But it was ultimately how we enjoy our lives. But it goes back to the welcome to our family. This is who Jody and Jeff are.
Mm-hmm. And you're spending a lot of time there. So you
Lots.
you better like the food and you better like the drinks.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Eat it all the time.
Yeah, if I'm not going to eat it, why would I ask anybody else? Ask anyone else to eat it or drink it. I eat a taco pretty much every day. Luckily, this is a podcast and no video.
Yeah. There's no Taco Belly. What's your favorite taco?
The bomb-ass fish, man. Yeah. I love battered fish. I mean, I like fish.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then carne asada.
Mm-hmm. I like the carne asada.
Oh, it's all good.
I think the cauliflower taco.
The cauliflower's good.
It's different. It's fresh. I feel like eating veggies without having to eat a salad.
You can still call it a taco.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's in the tortilla.
Mm-hmm. Compromise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have extensive tequila and mezcal selection. And it seems like you are just so into researching everything there is to know about mezcal and tequila, and actually going to Oaxaca and places like that, and touring and tasting and bringing things home.
Yeah.
So you can really see the passion for that in what you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And we love any agave spirits, and Jeff is the tequila expert in-house, and I am the mezcal expert, and we love sharing our knowledge and talking with other people who are into it. We knew we were going to have an extensive list of mezcal and tequila. And then we came up with the idea, again, we're in Palisade and people are used to tasting wine. The brewery scene is big, obviously, where you can have flights. So we're like, how does this... People who come here are generally interested in comparing, being into like the food and liquor scene. So that's where we came up with the idea of doing the flights. We see many tables just getting a full flight or a half flight even, and just having that conversational piece to compare them side by side. And there's so much to know about the spirits, so we're constantly educating ourselves and having cool conversations with our guests as well.
And it is hard. It's really hard to go to Oaxaca once a year. Like it's tough life. We've been there twice now, and we're already planning next winter to go down with a couple of our employees who want to go and learn. I mean, I would never have gone away with my boss. What? Are you crazy? Like, these people want to go away with the owners of the restaurant who they work side by side with? Like, we don't spend enough time together? Let's go. That's awesome.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I mean, it sounds good. I'll go.
Yeah, let's go. We should do a Oaxaca Palisade trip.
I keep thinking about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that could be a cool idea.
Yeah.
Like, we'll do the itinerary and you guys get your lodging.
I mean, we know hospitality. We can put together a tour.
I don't know if I want to do that full time, though.
Yeah. Not full time. January.
Right, exactly.
I mean, full time for 2 weeks while we're there.
We do really want Fidel's to be a local spot. Yeah. So there are a few things that we've done to help foster that relationship and show that we're here for you.
There's still
because you've been here for us. We only take reservations for the tables inside. But the bar we don't take reservations for, and then we don't take reservations for the patio because we want people to be able to walk in. And those sections can turn over a little quicker. Mm-hmm. We might not have that table right that second or a bar seat right that second, but that's our hope is to keep the locals counting on us that they can get in the car, jump on a bike, walk on down, and odds are we can get them in. We also do that. We have
rewards program.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we do a rewards program.
I don't know much about it anymore. I'm not the front of the house. I am solely in the back of the house at this point.
So we have a rewards program at Fidel's where if you leave your phone number and you pay with a credit card, it will remember your credit card. And basically or if you pay cash, we can do the phone number. But what it is, if you spend $100, you get $10 off your next time in. And so it's basically 10% off. And that really is that thank you to the locals for helping us sustain us through the winter.
Right.
We know we're going to be a seasonal business, but we would really love to be able to keep our staff employed through the winter. This winter we were nervous we were going to lose a lot of great people, but we limped along good enough and we were able to keep our stars from the season. Yeah. And that just propels us into a much better and smoother tourist season when it does happen. They're trained and ready.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We do sparkle donkey shots for people on their birthday.
Yes.
They come in. If nobody knows what sparkle donkey is, it's a really tasty vanilla reposado tequila. It's really good. It's fun to drink. It's fun to say.
I'll be there on my birthday in September.
Yeah, please do.
So the only negative feedback that I ever see about Fidel's is occasionally people are like, oh, it's so expensive. But, I think I know a lot of the reasons for that.
Sure.
But how do you respond to those people?
There's Jody's response and there's Jeff's response. I get it. Like, when we built the menu, we priced the food out, and we literally said to ourselves, are we really going to have an $8 taco? Yes, we are. We're going to have an $8 taco. We're going to have more than one. Because of the type of food that we're doing, scratch kitchen, everything's prepped daily, every other day. The type of fish we're using, wahoo, flown in, fresh, and the amount that it takes to actually run a restaurant. The invoices that we get from our purveyors, they have surcharges. They have gas surcharges, regular gas surcharges, delivery fees. So once our menu is set, we're pretty much set. But everybody else gets to adjust their prices. So we have to balance that act out throughout the year because we're not going to make the same amount of money we're going to make in July as we are in December. Mm-hmm. So it has to balance out. And if people don't understand that, if they've never done that or realize it, then of course they're going to ask, why is it so expensive?
There are so many extras that go into a brick and mortar operation.
Yeah.
The fact that we're a mom and pop restaurant, we don't have the economies of scale that an Outback can have or a chain restaurant can have.
The buying power.
The buying power, the advertising power, our software, our reservation software, the fact that you can make a reservation actually does in fact cost us money for those conveniences. It does add up, our bookkeeping, everything. It's important that everyone knows that all of our pricing is based on the cost of running a business. And unfortunately, if we drop our prices, we're not going to have the margins to sustain a business or have Jeff and Jody literally under the roof, right, making sure everything is right. That's where that extra money does go somewhere. It sustains the heartbeat. It sustains the level of service. We have a host or a hostess. We have an expo. We have extra bartenders. All of these things, pouring craft cocktails, where literally we pay our day bartender is squeezing juice all morning.
The hand squeezer press.
That it
costs money.
It costs money.
Yeah.
The cost of limes, the cost of avocados. It's not taken lightly. We are always trying to. We know if we dropped the prices, we could be busier, but we might not be able to keep the doors open. So it's very important, and I totally get that to some people it is expensive because it is, and going out to eat is considered a luxury.
Yeah, but that's also why it's so important for us to have the service, because that costs money too. We pay our people well, like they're taken care of, and there's a lot of hidden fees that people don't know about. And while everybody else can adjust their fees, we can't bounce that menu back and forth. I mean, that's just not how it goes. It's just not. And, we have to swallow that very large pill sometimes to say, this isn't the month for us because we got all these extra charges. And that's just what it is.
We're just one lowly little restaurant. We can't strong arm our vendors. Like, that's just not, and that's not who we are.
Yeah. We want to work together with everybody, not against them. I'm not asking anybody to cut their price. Like, I get it. I'm a business owner. I know what it takes. Your price is your price. I'll shop it, but your price is your price. I respect that. Much like our prices are our price.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting because at the same time, people often compliment the service and the food. And it's like, these things go together. You're keeping these staff because you're paying them a living wage, and you're keeping the restaurant open through the winter for locals, and I appreciate that. I think people appreciate that. But those things all cost money.
Right.
So I was just curious about that because, like, again, it's an easy thing just to kind of throw off as a complaint and not kind of realize what goes into it.
Totally.
Well, I think, and I have to say thank you for asking that question. A lot of people, we've done a few of these, the podcasts and interviews, and I don't know if anybody's really ever, we've talked about money and vendors and all that, but nobody's really directed the question towards, like, why? So it's a good opportunity for us to be able to, and it's not a defense. We're not defending ourselves. We're just explaining it. There's a lot more going on. So thank you for asking the question.
No, that's me. I always want to know why. That's why I have to do this.
And we'll talk to people left and right. Yeah, if they ask us the questions, we're going to give them the answers. We have nothing to hide from people.
Makes sense. I'm taking up a ton of your time. I just have a few more questions.
Yeah, sure.
So, I think we've touched on this already, but what do you like most and least about running your own businesses?
I'm
going to see how this goes. How different our answers are. Like it's,
I always thought I would own my own business. As a kid, I was that one that was always rallying my friends to sell something, do something, invent something, and I think it suits me personally. And somebody said this and it's always resonated. I work 80 hours a week, so I don't have to work 40. And I love the flexibility around that. I think of myself as an adult that knows how to manage my to-do list. So when my work's done, I get to play. And if something needs to get done, well, then play has to hang tight a little bit. And I really love employing people. I love having teammates. I love having people in it alongside of me, pushing me to create something and be better. I think that's important. And owning your business, owning your own business, you have the opportunity that if you work hard, you can get rewarded for it.
Yeah.
I think the worst part about owning your own business is you can't press pause on it. Yeah. It's very difficult to take a day off. It's very difficult to relax your mind and switch off and think about other things. Jeff and I, and luckily, I've always liked my jobs and I've always liked the work I do. So we talk about work a lot, but it's a very difficult thing to press pause on.
Yeah. I think the worst part for me is and it's not even the worst. I guess it's just the time commitment. Like it's 100% of your life. That's what it is, and we signed up for it. I accept it. But sometimes, you're just tired. You're just tired, and you need a break. Yeah, and you don't get to call in sick unless you have COVID. So some days you pray you have COVID. I'm kidding, knock on wood. But it's just the level of involvement, especially when you say owning your own business. A hospitality business is different. A restaurant, a motel, because you have your employees and you have your guests, and if you're not on with one, then you're probably on with the other, vice versa. So the best part is also that I'm on with my guests. I'm on with my employees. Like, we have a really cool group of people that work here, as well as the motel. And we hang out with all of them. Really, the ultimate best part of having our own business, especially hospitality, is the amount of time that I get to spend with people. Like, I like people. I really do. Like, I get burnt out, of course, but I can recharge. But I get energy from talking to people and selling what we do, and people asking about us and wanting to hear about us. That's energy. That's a positive thing that people want to know about me. What? You know, I grew up in Delaware. Like, what? It's kind of cool. There's a lot of cool stuff, and it's hard to look at up close and get out of your own way when you're running a business and just in the mix constantly.
I was going to say for you that I was going to say for you, for the worst part is
I'm trying to be like positive in the worst part.
Jeff wakes up every day trying to figure out how the world is going to screw him. And so every day he wakes up and he knows something's going to break, someone's going to call in sick, some delivery isn't going to be made. And guess who's going to pick up the slack? Jeff. Yeah. So Jeff lives in constant angst that something is going to mess up his day.
Well, that's because not just this. That's the way I grew up, too.
And when you own your own business, the buck stops there. Like, you have to fix the problem.
Right.
It's only on you. You're not calling in a lifeline. At the end of the day, you have to take care of it. And that is also the greatest thing, because you are the problem solver.
Right.
And that's cool. People do look at you to fix it.
Yeah, there's just not enough time really for what we do in the day. I honestly, like, I wish I had more time and more energy to do all the things. But yeah, I'm a glasses half empty guy. Like, what's going to happen today that I have to fix? That's where I live. It always has been, and it's just what it is. Yeah. Thanks, Jody.
Something's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. Like, my phone's been ringing off the hook, so I can imagine what I'm going to walk into when I go down there. Oh, never mind. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I'll ask you one more question.
No, you're good.
What's your favorite part about the Palisade community? Or what's your favorite... Well, no, wait. I want to ask you two more. So there's one. What's your favorite part about the Palisade community?
My favorite part about the Palisade community? I think probably the chillness of it. Palisade's, not that Steamboat wasn't, but Palisade's, it's different because it's small. We have 1,500 people that live in this town, and it's pretty chill, for the most part. It's pretty chill. You golf carts riding down the road, for Pete's sake, you can ride your bike without getting yelled at. In the people that you do interact with that are out on the streets, they're cool. They're nice people. I think that's what I like the most about it. I walk into the grocery store. Granted, I go into the grocery store about 5 times a day, but they know me. They're like, oh, it's a guy from Fidel's. Yep.
There he is again.
Picking
up salt.
I don't. So, I think that's my...
So what was that question?
What's your favorite thing about the Palisade community?
I think my favorite thing about the Palisade community is how supported we feel.
Yeah.
At first, like I said, we didn't know many people for quite some time, but after we started getting out and about, there are other business owners in particular, Gary and Linda up at Restoration, Matt and Ashley over at Pesh,
Mary at Slice of Life, Rondo at the bike shop, Mark with Pedicab,
Edwin and Sherry at TWK, like
Laura,
many. Like,
Laura
we're totally
Brennan, formerly known as Mesa Park.
Yeah.
Like, really cool people.
Really cool people, and
you. You guys come in, really, like you're doing this. This is supporting us, that's...
This is the community I want to live in,
right.
I want to build the community that I want to live in too.
Right.
And I think more people have helped build us up when we were low than have put us down.
Yeah.
And have reassured us to follow our instincts, keep moving forward. And I hope that we do that for them. And that's the type of people we want to associate and that we also want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to support people as best we can.
So when you do get that rare day off, what do you like to do?
I would say when we have a day off, we often
drink coffee.
On our deck for a bit. Talk about work. Then we'll walk our dogs. Fidel.
We take Fidel for a walk.
Yeah,
Fidel's still alive. It's not a tribute restaurant. Like he's still very much
alive.
alive.
What does he think about having a restaurant named for him?
It's nerve-wracking. He lives much like Jeff in constant angst. Like he's not sure what kind of pressure's on him.
So we'll take him for a walk down in Riverbend. I have a horse in Fruta. I will often go out and ride my horse out in Fruta. Maybe go trail riding.
I have a dual sport motorcycle I'd like to ride. Cruise around and go for a bike ride. Play pickleball. We love pickleball.
Oh, our courts here in Palisade are amazing.
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
And then grab a cocktail and some dinner.
Yeah.
Just out in Palisade, cruise around. And our best day is when we don't have to leave Palisade.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless we're going to Mexico.
Yeah.
You're smiling as you think about both things.
I am. I'm like, ooh. I know. Yeah, it's good.
That would be
It's
lovely.
Like I'm looking forward to that day off in January next year. It's gonna be a good day. Drink a lot of coffee that day.
Thank you both so much for your time.
Oh, thank you.
For agreeing to talk to me.
Yeah, of course.
Sharing your stories. It was really cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate
it.
Yeah.
If you listened to the last 3 episodes, you may have noticed a common theme. Nellie, Cody and Mike, Jeff and Jody, they all saw something that wasn't working as well as it should be, or that was in need of repair. And they said to themselves, you know what? I think I can fix this. I think I can make this place beautiful. They all saw their vision through ups and downs until they achieved their goals. Because if not them, then who? If you're enjoying this podcast, let me know by leaving a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or a follower rating on Spotify. If you're interested in being on the show or if you have ideas for a future show, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at lisa@postcardsfrompalisade.com. The Postcards from Palisade podcast is available on all major podcast distribution platforms. Find us and subscribe now so you never miss an episode. Latest episodes and links to more information are also posted on the website postcardsfrompalisade.com. Thanks for listening. With love from Palisade.